Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving headfirst into a truly mind-bending 1984 masterpiece by the Oxford philosopher Derek Parfit. We are going to explore a book called Reasons and Persons. And let me tell you, this is a work of moral philosophy that will completely shatter your everyday concept of the self and fundamentally rewire your moral compass. To kick things off, picture this. It's the year 2085. You're stepping into a metallic cabin called a teletransporter for a quick trip to Mars. A scanner records your body down to the very last atom, destroys your physical body right here on Earth, and then beams all that data to Mars at the literal speed of light. Up on Mars, a replicator recreates you, atom for atom. That replica steps out feeling exactly like you, with every single one of your memories. So here is the crucial question. Are you the person stepping out onto the red dust, or did you literally just die in a booth on Earth? Parfit uses these terrifying yet incredibly fascinating thought experiments to prove a wildly radical point. You do not have a persistent, solid self that moves through time. Throughout this explainer, we're going to see how accepting this illusion isn't actually scary. In fact, it can make you less selfish, less afraid of death, and vastly more equipped to help the future of humanity.
All right, part 1, the trap of self-interest.
So, we're all pretty much taught that maximizing our own long-term well-being is the absolute peak of rational behavior. Looking out for number one, right? But Parfit adapts the classic prisoner's dilemma to show just how flawed this actually is. If you and a friend are captured and put in separate cells, the strictly rational calculation dictates you should always betray your friend to save yourself. But here's the catch. Your friend is also calculating purely in their own self-interest, so they betray you too. By following pure self-interest, you both end up with heavy punishments. The strict mathematical calculation literally creates the absolute worst outcome. If you had both just acted quote-unquote irrationally and selflessly cooperated, you'd both be way better off. And this brilliantly illustrates what Parfit calls collectively self-defeating behavior. Think about the tragedy of the commons. Imagine this beautiful shared green pasture. If every single farmer acts selfishly and adds as many sheep as possible to maximize their own profit, the grass is quickly destroyed and just turns to mud. Every single farmer's self-interest is ruined exactly because they all acted on self-interest. Moving right along to part 2, the future self. Imagine you wake up in a hospital bed with temporary amnesia. A nurse walks in and tells you that you either endured a 5-hour, absolutely agonizing surgery yesterday, or you have a 1-hour, mild surgery coming up later today. Which would you prefer? Almost certainly, you'd want the 5-hour surgery to be in your past. But logically, 5 hours of pain is objectively way worse than 1. This reveals a massive, totally irrational bias we have toward the present. Once pain is behind us, we instantly stop caring, but we are absolutely terrified of what lies ahead.
And this bias explains so much. It explains exactly why a teenager might decide to start smoking cigarettes despite knowing the future risks. When you map out a human timeline, that 80-year-old at the very end shares so few mental states, desires, or even physical cells with the 20-year-old at the beginning. To the teenager, their 80-year-old self feels like a completely distant stranger. So sacrificing present pleasure for them doesn't feel like self-interest at all. It feels more like altruism for someone you don't even know.
Which brings us to part 3, the illusion of identity. This is the absolute core of Parfit's philosophy, where we have to ask a truly terrifying question. What if the whole concept of you is a complete illusion? See, most of us operate under what is called the ego theory, this belief that you are a solid, indivisible vessel or soul that stays exactly the same from birth to death. But Parfit passionately defends the bundle theory. He argues there is no central thread holding the beads of your life together. You are literally just the beads themselves, a constantly shifting bundle of thoughts, memories, and physical cells. To really wrap our heads around this, let's jump back into that teletransporter. But this time, it malfunctions. It successfully beams your replica to Mars, but the machine on Earth fails to destroy your body. Your heart on Earth is failing, and you only have 5 minutes to live. Parfit says this isn't a tragedy. The clone on Mars has what he calls perfect relation R. They directly share your memories, your plans, and your overlapping psychological continuity. Now, if that sounds like pure sci-fi nonsense, Parfit points to real-world split-brain patients, where severing the brain's hemispheres actually creates 2 independent streams of consciousness. He asks us to imagine a futuristic surgeon who extracts your healthy brain after an accident, splits it perfectly in half, and transplants each hemisphere into the empty skulls of 2 of your identical triplets. Both brothers wake up with your memories, completely believing they are you. And suddenly we hit a massive logical trap. You can't say you died because a surgery can't be considered a failure just because it was a double success, right? You can't say you survived as just brother A or just brother B because there is no logical reason your consciousness would arbitrarily pick one over the other. And you definitely cannot survive as both because you can't be two separate people having a conversation in two different cities. The profound aha moment here is that asking, which one am I, is a completely empty question. Personal identity is just a convenient label we use, kind of like naming a club. Survival simply means your psychological connections continue on. The rigid, unchanging you that you think you're protecting, it doesn't actually exist. Okay, let's dive into part 4, paradoxes of the future. Now that we've totally shattered your ego, let's step into the wild moral landscape of population ethics. If identity is fluid, how do we handle our obligations to the billions of humans who don't even exist yet? Imagine we have two choices today. We can choose depletion, burn all the fossil fuels, live in extreme luxury now, and leave a totally devastated Earth in 300 years. Or we can choose conservation, limit our consumption, and leave a beautiful, clean Earth in 300 years. It feels completely obvious that depletion is morally wrong because it harms future generations. But Parfit points out a devastating butterfly effect here. He calls this the non-identity problem. Think about it. Human conception relies on exact split-second timing. Choosing depletion completely changes the global timeline. It changes jobs, travel, and exactly when people meet and conceive children. That means the specific people born 300 years from now in a ruined world are entirely different people than those who would have been born under conservation. Those specific individuals living in the ruined world actually owe their very existence to our selfish choice. We can't say we harmed them, because without that exact bad choice, they never would have existed at all. To solve this chilling paradox, Parfit suggests we shouldn't worry about specific identities. We should just try to maximize total happiness impersonally. But wait, there's a mathematical trap here. If we have World A with 10 billion blissfully happy people and transition to World B with 20 billion slightly less happy people, we've technically increased the total mathematical sum of value in the universe. But if we keep following this exact logic, continuously equalizing and adding more people, we slide all the way down to World Z. This is a world where trillions upon trillions of people live gray, monotonous lives that are barely worth living. They have no deep joy, no art, no profound love. Yet, simply because there are so many of them, their combined microscopic drops of joy mathematically beat the massive total happiness of World A. Parfit named this mathematical trap the repugnant conclusion. It completely defies our basic moral intuition, yet it is mathematically consistent. By mapping out this trap, Parfit showed that humanity's everyday moral compasses are totally unequipped to handle the massive scale of our impact on the far future. Finally, our conclusion. Stepping into open air. You might be feeling a bit of existential dread right about now, but we really need to look at how this highly dense, counterintuitive philosophy can actually be a profoundly liberating way to live. Instead of falling into nihilism, Derek Parfit found immense peace in these discoveries. He realized that because the solid self is an illusion, death isn't the destruction of a soul. It is simply the gradual fading of psychological connections. The walls of his ego vanished. The things that make your life beautiful, your thoughts, your kindness, your work, they aren't trapped inside you. They will continue to ripple through the minds of others long after your specific connections fade. By letting go of the fortress of your ego, you learn 3 vital lessons. First, pure self-interest is a trap that hurts us all. Second, you are not an isolated bubble, but a wave in a single vast ocean of shared consciousness. And third, because we are all connected, we bear a massive, terrifying, and ultimately beautiful responsibility to ensure the trillions of unborn lives waiting in the future have a thriving world to inherit. So, armed with the knowledge that you are a constantly shifting bundle of connections and memories, rather than a rigid, indivisible soul, I leave you with one final question to ponder. If you had the ticket in your hand right now, would you step into the teletransporter?
Please like and subscribe.